Hope my slide is visible. Okay, before starting, the last scheme we will be talking about in this FVM methodology. Let me add one more thing which I missed during the upwind scheme. So not exactly missed. It's kind of add-on information that usually textbooks give. So I have told that my phi is phi p. If my Fe is greater than 0, my phi will be taken by phi capital E if Fe is less than 0. In textbooks, what they do is they do not write in this fashion, or maybe they can write, but more precisely they write this whole equation consolidated into one function form, and that function form looks something like this. Let me add with this. So what they usually tell that my phi e small e, or to be more precise, Fe phi e is nothing but in single function form phi p times max of Fe comma 0, whatever be the greater 0 or Fe. If Fe is greater than Fe is greater than 0, this max function will take Fe. So your function will be Fe phi e is equal to Fe phi, and the next, the leftover function is phi capital E max of minus Fe 0. Okay, so this is the whole function you can use, you may use, or alternatively you can use this also. Okay, but in textbooks they use usually this, but both means the same. Why? So if your Fe is greater than 0, Fe is greater than 0, so max of Fe, so choose between a maximum between Fe and 0. So Fe will be greater than 0, so Fe will be the here. So then your function will be phi p Fe and Fe phi e, and here Fe will be minus. So Fe is greater, but minus of Fe will be less than 0. So max of this function will be 0. So this minus 0. So this goes. So eventually you get Fe is equal to, sorry, phi e is equal to phi p. Eventually you get the similar expression. Similarly, if you do Fe is less than 0, this function will be left over, and this will goes to 0. So that way, in textbooks they use this kind of notation. Nevertheless, we will move into the next scheme. So why should we care about next scheme? What was the shortcomings of the previous scheme that we have talked about? So in short, we can tell that this upwind scheme, in some sense, they over predicts the situation, the flow. Okay, in what manner? So overpredict in the sense that you need to write your phi p here, and you tell that my phi w will influence my phi p only. This thing kind of overpredicts, because there will be another second neighboring ww will be there, control volume, and you may think logically that this ww should also have some sort of influence on this p as well, since the flow is happening from left to right, isn't it? So not only w, the closest neighboring cell is influencing, but there will be a combined effect of all the cells, not only this but all the cells. But at least we can take two neighboring cells to estimate my phi p. So there comes the new scheme, uh, which optimally predicts the situation, the flow scenario. Okay, whereas your upwind scheme essentially over predicts things. Okay, whereas quick scheme, now we will introduce quick scheme, which takes the advantage of or which takes the association of not only one neighboring cell but two neighboring cells, two immediate neighboring cells. Okay, so the full form of quick scheme is written as quadratic upstream interpolation of convective kinetics. So it's kind of big thing, but usually we call this as quick scheme. And the only difference here from upwind scheme, that we predict that my phi p would be phi e phi p would be phi e if my flow was happening left to right. In this case, in the quick scheme case, uh, or you can say in CDS scheme, we we predicted FP, your whatever your phase cell, as the average of phi p plus phi e divided by 2, some sort of average. So both these schemes kind of, one over predicts, or and CDS scheme kind of under predicts. So quick scheme takes the advantage of that, and it takes the it takes kind of quadratic profile assumption, not profile assumption, you can say quadratic assumption, quadratic assumptions, which includes essentially 3 points, the cell itself and two neighboring cells. Okay, so let me do the formulation for this quick scheme, and let's see how it goes. So let's suppose I have this is my P node. Okay, this is my east node. This is my west node, and one more node I will take as WW. Okay, and I want to estimate the phase value here at this interface, essentially this east node, west node, and this is west face, sorry, east face, west face, west faces. Okay, more in more generic sense, we usually take this as ith node. We usually take this I minus 1th node, I minus 2 node, or let me be more specific this time. This would be ith node, this would be I plus 1 rather, this would be I minus 1, this would be I minus 2. Yes. Okay, and the distances between them, between two intermediate nodes, is, let's suppose, delta, and this is your delta by 2. Okay, kind of homogeneous node. Let's take now, and we want to take the advantage of neighboring two nodes. Okay, so what we assume that my profile kind of is a polynomial of quadratic nature. So we estimate that my phi is a polynomial we start assuming polynomial, or more precisely a quadratic polynomial. That is why this term quadratic comes into picture. So we assume my phi is some coefficient a0, some coefficient a1 times x plus some other coefficient x a2 x square, and during the meantime we want to estimate these coefficients. Once we estimate these coefficients, we can plug in and we will have a proper phi function at interfaces where we need it. Okay, so we start with this and we try to find these coefficients a1, a2 and a3. Okay, so what are the boundary conditions? You can say boundary conditions more precisely. So phi at x is equal to 0. Okay, so for the time being, we usually take that this is my x is equal to 0. This is my x is equal to delta. Okay, this is x is equal to minus delta, and so we take this as an origin node for to be in you can say in the positive side. I mean, the calculation will be easy and people have done that, so that is why they have taken, although we can take x is equal to 0 here itself, but people have taken this way so that my calculations are easy. So at x is equal to 0, my phi value will be phi I minus 1. At x is equal to delta, my phi value will be phi I. Okay, and at x is equal to minus delta, my phi value will be phi I minus 1, minus 2. Okay, now let's plug in these. I mean, we know that these values are this. So phi I minus 1 is at x is equal to 0. So at x is equal to 0, we plug in x is equal to 0. So this goes. So you are left with this. Question number 1. When I plug in x is equal to delta, that time I get phi I is equal to a0 plus a1 delta plus a2 delta square. This is my equation number 2. For sorry, minus delta. So x is equal to minus delta. At x is equal to minus delta, this function is phi I minus 2, and this reads as a2 minus a delta, a1 delta plus a2 delta square. This is my equation number 3. Okay. Okay, now we have already estimated my first coefficient, that is a0 is equal to phi I minus 1. This is with us in hand. So straight away we will substitute a0 here, a0 here. Okay, and okay, let's do this calculation. So this is phi I is equal to phi a0 is phi I minus 1 plus a1 delta plus a2 delta square, phi I minus 2. Straight away put phi I minus 1 here in place of a0 minus a1 delta plus a2 delta square. We can directly add and we can get something, or first we do subtraction. So this is 2a1 delta and this also goes, no, this also goes. 2a1 delta is equal to phi I minus 2, and 2 also I will keep it here, and delta also I'll put it here. Okay, so now a1 coefficient has also been estimated. So a1 a0 estimated. So similarly we can get a2 as, if you do the algebra, you will get phi I plus phi I minus 2 minus 2 phi I minus 1 divided by 2 delta square. So all the coefficients we get. Now we have the polynomial in our hand. So let's substitute in polynomial. So the polynomial reads as phi is equal to a naught. So a naught is nothing but phi I minus 1 plus a1. a1 is phi I minus 2 divided by 2 delta times x. This is my function, plus a2 is phi I plus phi I minus 2 minus 2 phi I minus 1 divided by 2 delta square times x square. So this is the polynomial we get. Now what is my aim? My aim is to estimate my interfaces values at either ends. So let's suppose I am interested in phi interface or at x is equal to delta by 2 place, isn't it? So or maybe w interface. So you have to go delta by 2 distance from here, from x is equal to 0. So at x is equal to delta by 2, what is your so if you put x is equal to delta by 2 here and here, you will get the values like 3 phi I plus 6 phi I minus 1 minus phi I minus 2 divided by 8. So in general, so this I have estimated the face value at w west face. So phi w essentially I have written, if I talk about in terms of w, so phi w is nothing but 3 phi p essentially minus 6 phi capital W minus phi, this is my ww. So this is divided by 8. This is the generic, this is my generic most value at interface in terms of P, W and WW. Isn't it beautiful? It came and now you can see this phi interface value or the face value is not only dependent on P's or W's or some sort of average, but it has some contribution of the neighboring node also. Similarly, we have phi E interface also. We can actually estimate in similar fashion, and we get this 3 phi capital E minus 6 phi P minus phi W. You can see this E is being estimated by not only the average of two faces but the neighboring node as well. This is divided by 8. Now having said that, these two values, now let's take any generic equation. Again, let's take any generic one-dimensional case. One-dimensional case, let's take. This is your P, this is your E, this is your west node, this is your west node. Okay. Now this time this can be interchangeably done. Okay, you want to estimate your phi E and phi W values actually, and we know that phi E and phi W we have already estimated with these numbers. Okay, from quick scheme. And now we also know that this is not over predicting things, because it is taking advantage of two neighboring nodes at least. Okay, this is a better scheme over upwind scheme. Okay, so when you do the similar calculation, or if you, let's suppose your governing equation is rho u phi is equal to gamma d phi by dx. This was your governing equation. You try to integrate it, dx from west face to east face. west face to east face, you come up with similar terminologies. Finally, fe phi e minus fw phi w, small w's, is equal to gamma d phi by dx at east face, gamma d phi by dx at west face. Now these values, okay, these values should be estimated by our scheme. So my phi e, I can straight away write 3 phi e minus 6 phi p, because we have estimated it, phi w divided by 8, and my phi w should be estimated in this fashion: 3 phi p minus 6 phi w minus phi w divided by 8. Now we have, now just substitute these values. And what about these will be usual. So convective terms, so remember, in quick scheme, convective terms are always kind of varying with schemes. So it was some sort of average. In our upwind scheme, it was kind of influenced from neighboring nodes. In the quick scheme, it will be estimated by your quick formulation. So convective terms may, so phi e will be given by quick scheme. Quick scheme with 3-point quadratic profile, right? And your diffusion term in all the cases, in all our schemes, diffusion terms will be always linear profile. Okay, what we usually do, okay, हमें इस पोजीशन पे हमें डी फाई बाई डी एक्स स्लोप ढूंढना है ई फेस पे, तो वो कैसे करेंगे, वो यूजुअल रहेगा हमारा सिंपली. सो वो हमारा रहेगा फाई ई माइनस फाई पी डिवाइडेड बाई डेल्टा एक्स ई. ओके, यूजुअल लीनियर प्रोफाइलिंग ही रहेगा ऑलवेज. This keeps, remember, always convective term. So there should be, so in finite volume method always you should be concerned about the convective term modifications. That's it. आपका CDS स्कीम में वो एवरेज हो जाता था, अपविंड स्कीम में लेफ्ट साइड से वो एडवांटेज लेता है, और क्विक स्कीम में 3-point क्वाड्रेटिक करके आपको लगा देना है. तो ये स्कीम से आपको फिर अगेन आपको एफ आई इज इक्वल टू बी नेचर का कुछ मिलेगा हर नोट्स पे, और फिर इसको सॉल्व करना है जैसे हम लोग लास्ट क्लास में किए थे. ठीक है, ओके, इसमें और कुछ तो फिलहाल नहीं है, पर okay, we have slight time, so we can start moving towards pressure linked equations. Okay, so now that ends our all the schemes. Most of the most of the widely used schemes in finite volume method will not, there are certain other schemes as well depending upon the nature of the equations, but as a first time course in CFD, we should be only concerned about the widely used schemes that we have already covered. Now we start with finite volume method for actual Navier-Stokes equation. Okay. In order to solve this Navier-Stokes equation, what is the most difficult variable, or what is the most difficult parameter that we have to handle? So the answer is pressure. It's all about pressure. It's all about pressure game here. Okay, the reason being, in Navier-Stokes equation, you have x momentum equation, you have y momentum equation, you have z momentum equation, you have continuity equation. Okay, you have dou u by dou t plus u dou u by dou x plus v dou u by dou y plus w dou v dou u by dou z is equal to minus dou p by dou x plus, so if it is, let's suppose this is multiplied by rho, So then this is mu times dot 2u by dot x square plus dot 2u by dot y square dot 2u by dot z square. Okay, and similar fashion y momentum, z momentum, and continuity. But the problem here is you will have explicit equations for u, v, and w, and also continuity also. Dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y, plus dou w by dou z is equal to 0. This is the continuity equation. But we do not have explicit equations for these pressures. We do not have. Okay, so it's kind of pressure comes. So pressure exists only because there is some velocity. Because of so since velocity and pressures are in some sort of coupled in nature. So you can say if you have pressure, let's suppose 10 bar here, if you have pressure 1 bar here, so high pressure here, lower pressure here, so flow may happen this way to this way, and so that is why this intermediate grid point will have some velocity only because there was a pressure. But the problem here is pressure do not have any explicit equation. अलग से कोई equation होता ही नहीं है इसको solve करने का. ये interlinked होते हैं pressure और velocity. So I mean pressure is there because of velocity and velocity is there because of pressure. So both are interrelated. So I mean they are kind of both are complementary to each other. So the only focus in order to numerically solving Navier-Stokes equation is to somehow handle the pressure, handling the pressure term. Okay, and that is why Suhash Patankar, he was an Indian, he probably from IIT Bombay in 1972. He devised or he came up with very fine algorithm called simple algorithm, semi-implicit pressure linked equation, simple. So this is the full form, semi-implicit pressure linked equation. So simple algorithm to efficiently handle pressure. And you would be surprised, people still use this simple algorithm in all of its flow scenarios till this date. I mean, no better algorithm nobody has done. So this Indian scientist has given in long back, and this is a kind of proud moment for us that we have given this algorithm to the whole world. Okay, and till this date people are using, and even if you use your ANSYS or COMSOL or any other software, OpenFOAM, everywhere it actually uses some way or other way simple algorithm or its variants. Okay, so we will talk about simple algorithm probably next week, but today we will discuss more about something called staggered and collocated grids. And these two things are inherited, or this is implicit in your simple algorithm. That is why we need to first understand what is staggered and what is the advantage of making grids as staggered and collocated. Okay, so we need to first understand there is something called checkerboard problem. Okay, so let me talk more about, first talk about checkerboard problem. Then we will go, because of this problem, we started making staggered grid configuration. So a staggered grid configuration is something that we are going to, let's suppose this is your control volume, and this is your pith control volume, or this is your ith control volume, this is your I plus 1 control volume, and this is your I minus 1 control volume. So the pressures are usually, so your phi values, or this time pressure values. So pi, sorry, not phi, this time my variable is pressure. So pi plus 1 or pi minus 1 are stored on the center of these control volumes, but your velocities velocities are staggeredly uh, located, or can be allocated at these grid points, not the center to the grid point. So that is why the there is a staggeredness of u control volume. So your u values are kind of are stored on the faces. That is the catch here. Okay, so this is kind of staggered. Okay, the reason being why I am doing this, if you store your pressure and velocity at similar grid points, that makes no sense. Okay, because physically, unless until there is a pressure difference, so this is 10 bar, this is 1 bar, then only you will see that there is a velocity that is occurring at this phase, and then it is logical also to save your u velocity at the interfaces. Okay, this makes sense physically also, isn't it? वहां पे प्रेशर है, प्रेशर डिफरेंस था, तभी मेरा वेलोसिटी इंटरफेस पे दिख रहा था. दैट इज वाई यू का जो कंट्रोल वॉल्यूम है वो ऐसा दिखेगा, स्टैगर्ड रहेगा, और पी का कंट्रोल वॉल्यूम उससे थोड़ा सा ऑफसेट रहेगा. ठीक है, सो दैट इज वाई द स्टैगर्ड grid configuration makes sense, staggered. Okay, and this is called collocated configuration, and this is called a staggered configuration. So in finite volume method, if you want to capture the physics in reality, you need to have the grid configuration of your pressure grids, and your velocity grids are not imposed on top of it. It is actually offsetted by some distance, because to make sense of the flow in it's kind of, there is a velocity potential, then only you will have current. Okay, so p is kind of sorry, not velocity, voltage. So in short, you will have certain voltage across, let's suppose 5 volts of voltage across electric conductor. Then only, if at all there is a voltage across this, you will find electricity is happening, otherwise you won't in physical terms. So in similar fashion, you can also think of there is a pressure potential, and because of this pressure potential, your velocity is happening at the interface, and so that is why your interface will be composed of another grid configuration which is offsetted by some distance. Okay, that is why this stagger configuration is come into picture, and this also handles your checkerboard problem efficiently. This handles checkerboard problem. And what is checkerboard problem? Let me tell you that in order to, so we have this pressure terms here. Okay, so all the terms, if you want to go in finite volume method discretization, you need to integrate it with dx. Every term integrate with dx. So this pressure also dx. What happens with this pressure? So let's suppose we have dp by dx times dx, and you are integrating from west face to east face. So you may write p at east interface, or rather you have minus dp by dx everywhere. You have minus dp by dx. Okay, so you may write if p small w minus p east small e. So this p is not pith control volume. This is corresponds to pressure. Okay, small p. So whenever I write capital P, this corresponds to pith control volume. Whenever I write small p, it corresponds to pressure. That's it. So these two you should not confuse. Okay, now this PW I can write as P capital W plus the average of P capital P. So small p capital P divided by 2 minus small p capital P plus small p capital E divided by 2, and this actually goes, so we are left with PW minus PE. This is very good concept. You need to understand this. So your pressure term is estimated by pressure at west node and pressure at east node divided by 2. Okay, now consider consider a problem which looks something like this. Let's suppose, consider a case. Now we are coming towards the checkerboard problem. Checkerboard problem. Okay, consider two cases. So case one we have, let's suppose this is my pith control volume, this is my east control volume, this is my west control volume, and the pressure here is 10. Pressure is here is 10 everywhere, 10 bars everywhere. Okay, so you will see, you will tell that, sir, my dp by dx pressure gradient is 0 essentially. Why? 10 minus 10 by any length delta x is equal to 0. So this makes fine, you're fine with that. Okay, but case 2, now this case 2 is something called something like this. This is your P, this is your E, this is your W. You may have situation like you have 10 pressure gradient here, 10 pressure gradient here, and 0 pressure gradient here, maybe 0 here, maybe again 10 here, 0 here, again 10 here. But you know that there is a pressure gradient that is there, but when you do the analysis, and when you do this, I mean you do the finite volume discretization, and you come up with PW minus PE by 2. When you apply this here, PW minus PE, so 10 minus 10 by 2 or whatever is comes out to be 0. So here also you get dP by dx is equal to 0. Okay, so you see यहाँ पे मेरा रियली में प्रेशर ग्रेडियंट 0 था, एक्चुअली में यस था, पर यहाँ पे एक्चुअली में मेरा नहीं था प्रेशर ग्रेडियंट 0. यहाँ पे प्रेशर ग्रेडियंट कुछ है, यहाँ पे कुछ वेलोसिटी आना चाहिए मेरा. ठीक है, तो मेरा जो न्यूमेरिकल एरर, दिस विल लीड टू न्यूमेरिकल एरर. ओके, दिस विल नॉट शो एनी वेलोसिटी. व्हाई? आपका प्रेशर ग्रेडियंट 0 हो गया यहाँ पर भी. So this is called something called checkerboard problem, and this could efficiently be addressed if we put another grid as U grid. So U पे यहाँ पे हम अगर देखने लगे और यहाँ पे हम एक स्टैगर्डनेस कर लें, ठीक है, ग्रिड में स्टैगर्डनेस कर लें. ये मेरा ये कंट्रोल वॉल्यूम था और ये वाला मेरा ये कंट्रोल वॉल्यूम था, बट U वाला कंट्रोल वॉल्यूम मेरा ये कंट्रोल वॉल्यूम था. तब मुझे वी कैन एफिशिएंटली एड्रेस when we do staggeredness in grid. This could eventually, I mean dp by dx will not be there, be 0, and मुझे फिजिक्स दिखने लगेगा कि यहाँ पे 10 है, यहाँ पे 0 है, यहाँ पे कुछ वेलोसिटी होगी, तब मुझे ग्रिड में दिखने लगेगा. तो स्टैगर्डनेस यहाँ पे मेरा काम कर जाएगा. चेकर्ड बोर्ड प्रॉब्लम इसी को बोलते हैं हम लोग. ठीक है, सो ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट है, स्टैगर्डनेस और कोलोकेटेडनेस. ओके, in finite volume methods we usually go for staggered grids rather than collocated grids. ओके जो कि हम लोग फाइनाइट डिफरेंस मेथड में करते थे। एक ही जगह पे हम प्रेशर भी देख रहे हैं, एक ही जगह पे हम वेलोसिटी भी देख रहे हैं, सभी वहीं पे कर रहे हैं और मैथमेटिकली कर रहे हैं, बट वो फिजिकली ये मेक सेंस नहीं करता है। स्टैगर्डनेस होना जरूरी है फिजिक्स को कैप्चर करने के लिए। ओके सो यस, आई विल नॉट गो फर्दर। Maybe next week I will talk about I'll start talking about the simple algorithm, because they are based on staggeredness and uh, handling the pressure by this mean. Okay, that is why it was a preface to simple algorithm. And I will put internal assessment on this question. Okay, internal assessment 3 rather. Internal assessment 3 as the same problem you will solve with a wind scheme. You make a MATLAB code. ठीक है, इसमें सभी में हम लोग क्या किए थे, इसमें कहीं कोई स्कीम नहीं गया, सारे मेरे सेंट्रल डिफरेंसिंग स्कीम थे। ठीक है सारे। तो आप इसमें हायर पेकले नंबर में, लेट्स सपोज सेकंड वाले केस में आप ले लेंगे, तो केस टू को आप लेंगे और उसको अपविंड स्कीम से सॉल्व करेंगे। ये आपका इंटरनल असेसमेंट 3 रहेगा। मे बी आज हम पुट कर देते हैं ये प्रॉब्लम। ठीक है, फिर उसको मैच कराना है इससे। ठीक है, ये हमारा इंटरनल असेसमेंट 3 रहेगा। एंड लेट्स सी वेदर यू गाइस कैन डू इट और नॉट। और प्रीवियस जो मेरा मैटलैब कोड है वो हम आपके साथ शेयर कर देंगे, सो दैट आप लोग को डिफिकल्टी ज़्यादा नहीं हो। आपको बस अपविंड स्कीम इसमें लगाना है और आपको दिखाना है कि कितना हम क्लोज आ रहे हैं एनालिटिकल सोल्यूशन से। ठीक है, यस, विद दिस I want to conclude this today's lecture. Anything you want to add or you want to suggest? और आप लोगों को समझ में आया या फिर नहीं आया या क्या है? Let me take attendance. Yes, no? I mean, should we leave?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.